I know you. You are Bob Willoughby.
That's
And I
right.
see you walking around Gateway, and I have seen you doing other things around the park too.
That's right.
And how long have you lived here?
Almost 9 years.
9 years. Well, it's a pretty good length of time, so you've gotten acquainted around.
Yes, and they haven't asked me to leave yet either, so that's the
Hey.
good part.
That's a good reference.
That's the good part, yes.
And how about telling us something about your experiences in the services, what branch and what you did and all that good stuff?
I'd gone to California with 2 other friends and we ran out of money. So one guy hitchhiked home, one guy got a job at a standard station in LA, and I went to the Army recruiter in downtown Los Angeles.
Sounds like the Three Little Pigs.
And asked them where I would go through basic training, and they told me Fort Ord, California, so I enlisted. And they put me up for the weekend there because I didn't have any money. They fed me, housed me for the weekend, and then I went down to Fort Ord for basic training. Came home for 2 weeks, and then went back to Fort Ord for 8 weeks clerical school.
That's a good one. I hadn't heard one like that before.
Yeah.
You went to clerical school.
Clerical
That's
school,
why
yeah.
you take such good minutes.
Well, my minutes are in handwriting, so he doesn't think so, but I don't type anymore, so at that point I actually could type.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, then I went to Germany unassigned, which ended up being in a town called Schweinfurt, Germany, which the largest bomb raid of the Second World War was in Schweinfurt. They had a ball bearing factory there. But at this point it was just well, it was a good sized town. Had a great job. I was a personnel specialist, MOS, but I was actually what we call a publication clerk. I ran the mimeograph machine. I ran all the orders, all the transfers, ordered all the forms, ordered all the ration cards, all that kind of, any correspondence other than mail that came into the battle group came through my office.
I know what a mimeograph machine is, and I'm sure there are people watching this that
Don't have
know
any idea. A mimeograph machine was a duplicating machine
before copy machines.
before copy machines with a large stencil that would be typed on, and then you put the ink in and it would duplicate. The one I started out with was a manual one, and everything in that was run in that battle group, I had to run with that. Not only operation orders, but anything concerned with each company. There were 7 companies, all of their orders came through me, and I had to do all the mimeographing.
And when you typed on those masters, you hopefully didn't make too many errors.
No.
But there were ways of cheating around it.
We could cheat on them because there was a young man who used to do the orders every day, and one day he had 3 people on the orders, which he had a guy named Tuiolele Suianoa and a kid named Aristotle Georgopoulos, and he kept typing these names and he couldn't get them right, and he came down to me and he said, "What the heck am I going to do here?" So I said, "Well, I'll tell you what you do." I said, "I'm going to give you this little stencil like this." And I said, I'm going to sit down at this typewriter. I'm going to read the names off to you 1 letter at a time, and I want you to. He said, "What good is this? I just do this." So we went through these 1 letter at a time. He said, "Now, so I'm going to cut this out of this stencil, and I'm going to tape it in here." And I said, "This is going to be all right, and nobody will ever know." So that's
Tricks of the trade.
tricks of the trade.
I was a secretary for some 10,000 years. I have to ask this. How fast could you type?
Actually, going through clerical school in the Army, your typewriters don't have letters on them.
Right.
So in other words,
Correct.
you're looking at a bulletin board
Uh-huh.
with the letters, so you never look. When I came out of clerk school, I could type 45 words a minute.
Well, you beat me. I have 2 years of typing, 4 semesters of typing, and I only got to about 30 a minute.
Yeah.
But this was on the manual typewriters.
Manual, yeah.
With an open keyboard, and long fingers went down through the keys and would
Yeah.
get stuck.
Manual. Now we had a guy in clerk school, an Oriental guy, that could actually type 80 words a minute on a manual machine. In fact, his fingers it was just like flying. So we were always amazed at how fast that guy, because none of us could type like that.
Once I graduated, or I had a position where I used an electric typewriter, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. And then when we got to self-correcting and we got to word processing,
See, I never got to that.
a long way. But I remember the blank keys and the big bulletin board.
That's right. That's right. And that's a good way to learn because you're not looking down at the keys. You just put your fingers on the home keys, and
I still remember ASDF, semi-L page.
yeah. So So that's we had all the I'd ordered all the forms. The Army runs on forms. So and I had my own office in the basement of the battle group building. nobody bothered with me because I was the only one that had the key. I could go down there if I fooled around too much during the day with talking and that. I could go down there at night. It was sort of like a relief spot for all of us. We could go down and play little cards, or we could actually do some work at night, so we could waste a little time during the day. So it was a very good job, and I was very fortunate to fall into it.
Well, it sounds like it, and you had a chance to look around Europe a little bit?
Yeah, I went to England, went to France, a lot in Germany, though, mostly in Germany.
And any particular thing about Germany you recall?
Well, when we got there, we had KPs, we had German KPs, and they would take $5 a month out of our pay. And then we had this gold problem, and they did away with the gold with this KPs, and we had to start pulling our own KP. Germany was a great place. We were in a small town in relation to a larger, from someplace like Frankfurt or that. I think where we were, people never liked soldiers too much because they generally caused trouble. And we made a point of always never going off the post first week after payday, because that's when the guys would go down and cause a ruckus. So we figured after about 7 days they were all broke and we could go down. And every place was open and there weren't beer bottles flying through the air. So that's the way we did it. We never had any trouble with the German people. Once you went to these different places and they saw that you weren't a troublemaker, you were readily accepted. We spent a lot of time kayaking on the river. There was a beer garden there. We'd go down there, swim and kayak and sit there afterwards and drink a few beers. I just mentioned to your wife, Sharon, that I just had a friend of mine a weekend ago that I was in the Army with. He and his wife were here for a couple days.
Oh, that was nice.
And so I've known him for 45 years. And they were in Iowa, visited her mother, and I said to him, we're all both getting pretty old. And I said, well, you got a chance to come in there? Please come in. So we did. Another couple was supposed to come, but she was not feeling well, so unfortunately she didn't come.
You made a nice little mini reunion anyway.
It was, and unfortunately just had a grandbaby born here 2 weeks ago.
And he sent,
yes, a beautiful granddaughter, and he just sent a present for her this week. So.
And what was her name?
Ashley.
Ashley. Oh, that's a neat name.
Yeah, so I'm pretty old to have a granddaughter, but I hope I'm not too old to bend over and pick her up.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
I have a great-granddaughter
and
a great-grandson.
Oh. Well, see, I didn't get started till later.
Uh-oh.
I didn't get married till I was 31. So.
I'm leaving that alone. Bob, it was really good seeing you today, and I'm so glad you came and joined in today, and we'll be seeing you around again.
I certainly hope so.
Wave as you walk by.
Wave.
I've talked to you so far.